Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Magical Girl Rehab, the podcast. We're two former magical girls traumatized by our experiences, and now we talk about anime for you to listen to. My name is Sophie, and this is Dylan. Dylan?
I got stage fright. Hi, I'm Dylan.
Do it one more time. Say like, hi, I'm Dylan.
Hi, I'm Dylan.
Alright, and today we're gonna talk about a silent voice, or Koe no Katachi, because it was kind of like the Twitter main character for a couple days. People were talking about it because of some tweet being like, this movie is the worst deaf representation I've ever seen. Shoko is such a boring character, and they're fucking stupid as shit for that, because they genuinely didn't understand anything about the movie. What do you think about that tweet, Dylan?
I don't really care if you don't like the movie, but it just kind of bugged me to be like, oh, this is a horrible deaf representation, because I myself am hard of hearing, so the movie hits a lot for me, especially Choko's character. I relate to her in almost like every aspect, so yeah. I don't think she's a bad rep for the deaf community, because I really liked it.
I mean, I don't want to, go too personal, but you have literally like the same exact struggles as Shoko. I mean, you wear hearing aids to help you hear better, because, I mean, aren't you like completely half deaf? Like, one side of your ear, you only hear like half as much? Is that how you'd put it?
It's hard to explain, really, but to put it on simple terms, this isn't really how it goes. At least when I talk to my audiologist, we say there's like a scale of deafness, so there's like, I don't know the terms completely, because it's been a while since I heard it.
I mean, that's fine.
There's like different stages, and there's like severely, I don't know the freaking term. Severe. I have a severe loss of hearing, or something like that.
Okay, so kind of like how you would describe Legally Blind, except you can still
that's
see.
a good way to say it. It's like, let's take Shoko in the movie. Shoko in the movie can still hear, but she's like legally deaf because she had that much loss. I'm not to that point, but let's put percentage on it. I probably have like half of my hearing missing, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to go too personal if you want to cut this, but like your mom, for example, is almost like 1-to-1 with Shoko, I would say.
Yeah, I think Shoko is probably a little worse off, but my mom is way more severely deaf than I am.
So basically, like, people who don't have any kind of hearing disability talking about if the representation is good or not just don't know what they're talking about at all. And again, like you said, it's okay to not like the movie for whatever reason you want, but saying that it's not good representation when you aren't a part of the minority that's being represented is kind of ridiculous and kind of just like white knighting for no reason.
Yeah. I have heard
stupid.
I'm pretty sure I've heard a couple testimonies of like people who have been deaf who don't like how the movie is portrayed, and that's valid. But also I think I am valid in my own thinking. It's all like personal thinking,
yeah.
Right?
But I would say, like, for most people hard of hearing, I mean, it's not like offensive. I mean, people are saying Shoko's character is boring, but
they
she's
say
actually
her character falls
very
flat, but I think she has the most complex character in the movie. I think it was very interesting for the movie to follow Shoya completely. So Shoko, you don't get into her mind at all. So that's like where the complexities of her character come in, because you learn the whole time like everything that happened to her, she thinks is all her fault, and she's constantly apologizing for everything because she really thinks she is the core issue of all the problems they had with some of the characters. Echo, like Naoka said, like, if it weren't for Choco, we never would have all been drifted apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess real quick before we get into the entire movie and stuff, if you haven't seen A Silent Voice or the Japanese name Koe no Katachi, it's a really good anime movie. It came out in 2016 with Your Name, which really overshadowed it at the time, but now A Silent Voice is actually rated higher on sites like My Anime List because, I mean, I haven't seen Your Name, but I've been told by Dylan and other people that it's a better movie than Your Name. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Basically, it's about this guy named Shoya and this girl named Shoko, and when they were kids, Shoya and his friends bullied Shoko for being hard of hearing / deaf, and then when they both grew up, Shoya kind of got isolated because of him getting caught for the bullying, and then he is severely depressed, and Shoko's also severely depressed in the future, and so they kind of meet up, and Shoya tries to reconcile like what he did to Shoko, and then there's also a bunch of drama involving their friend group and stuff, but it's basically about Shoya and Shoko learning to live with, I guess, their issues, their different issues. They have very different reasons for being depressed, but they end up kind of like relating to each other a lot in the end. So yeah, you should watch it. It's a really good movie. I watched it for the first time a couple years ago, but then last night I rewatched it, and I actually liked it a lot more on a second watch through. So you should watch it twice.
I really like,
because there's a lot of stuff that you kind of have to pick up on.
Yeah, the movie especially had a lot of show don't tell. So like even on a rewatch, there's a lot to see. I mean, I guess we're gonna be spoiling the movie in its entirety from this point. So if you're interested, you should probably just go watch it.
Yeah, it's only like a 90-minute-ish film.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours. Okay. Okay. Something I wanted to bring up that I've been thinking about ever since we watched it last night is Naoka, like you said, is like a really weird character because you don't really understand why she does some of the things she does. But I was thinking, like, the only reason that makes sense for her to be so vitriolic towards Shoko is if she, like, has a crush on Shoya.
She does.
And
it's like basically 100% confirmed in the manga. She did get more development near the end in the manga, around the time when Shoya's in his coma. You hear from her. She had like a whole mini arc, and she likes Shoya. That's the whole point there.
That's not super, like, again, that's kind of the thing in the movie that you have to infer, because there's like little hints, but it's not outright said that she is in love with Shoya. But that's the only reason it makes sense, especially at the very end of the movie, why she still hates Shoko, even though there's not really a reason for her to hate Shoko. I mean, obviously she still could have hang-ups from when they were kids, but I think Naoka ended up being really jealous of Shoko in childhood and then now into adulthood, because even though Shoya was bullying Shoko, he was still giving her attention, and I think Naoka ended up resenting Shoko for being bullied by Shoya just because of getting attention from him, even if it was really negative and traumatized her. And then in adulthood, or not adulthood, when they're in high school, it's the same thing. Like, she can't comprehend why Shoya would like or want to hang out with Shoko when they bullied her relentlessly when they were kids, and she just wants Shoya to forget about her and like be with her. And in that way, I think Naoka's an interesting character. I mean, she's a piece of shit, but it at least looking at it that way, it makes sense why she kind of doesn't get redeemed in the movie, because even if you end up realizing that, you know, being a bigot and hating a deaf girl for no reason, like, sucks, as a rival to someone that you have a crush on, you can't really just be like, oh, we're besties now, you know?
Yeah, and in addition to that, she's just unapologetically a piece of shit. But
Yeah.
someone like Miki, on the other hand, played victim the whole time. And I always say I hate Miki more, and I still do, but I still think she's written well. Like, I think it's very realistic, like, both their characters. They're both interesting in that aspect. Naoko more.
Well, Miki is so weird because she barely had any influence on Shoko as when they were kids, because Naoka at first like tried to help Shoko with like studying and stuff, and kind of like martyred herself in a way where she would like volunteer to help write notes for Shoko because she couldn't keep up with the lessons, but then she'd be like, oh, it sucks so much that I have to do this, when, bitch, you were the one who offered to do that. Shoko didn't ask you to do that. But Miki kind of didn't really do anything, like interact with Shoko. She kind of just stayed away from her and like laughed, like pretended she was offended by all the teasing and bullying, when in fact she didn't do anything to stop it.
That exactly there what her role was in the whole patch. Is she was the one that sat back and laughed at everyone else. But then, oh, well, I wasn't directly involved, so it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. How could you blame me for that? I also want to... So I'll probably be referring to the manga a lot in this podcast, because there are things the movie...
I haven't read the manga. Only Dylan has.
So I don't want to, like, spoil anything. Like, the manga does kind of go past the end of the movie a little bit, but just some differences. Like, in the very beginning, something the movie doesn't really show is that Shoya Shoya actually would try to help Shoka out a little bit. There's you may remember in the movie when Shoko's singing in the choir and she tone deaf. She can't sing. There's a part in the manga where like he takes her notebook and like writes in it like, hey, you're tone deaf, just don't sing, pretend like you're singing. He would like tell her things in a mean manner to try and help her out, and it sounds like, hey, you're just gonna get bullied for this, blah blah blah. I don't know. I think that's another interesting part to show your bullying.
Yeah, and also it seems like the turning point for when Shoya started really bullying Shoko is after he overheard Naoka complaining to Miki about how troublesome it is to constantly be, you know, helping Shoko out and stuff. Again, even though Shoko never asked to be helped in that way, she's still complaining about, oh, it sucks that I have to help her with this and help her with this, and then Shoya, as Naoka's friend, is like, oh, well, my friend shouldn't have to be dealing with all this. Shoko's kind of selfish. You know, I should bully her more or whatever. And that's kind of... It's so sad, too, because, like, obviously, Shoko blames herself for all the bullying because she thinks, like, oh, if I was just born with, like, healthy ears or whatever, then I wouldn't be such a burden on everyone. But it's really just not her fault at all, obviously. Like, she shouldn't have to, like, suffer just because of something she can't help, just like anyone else who has a disability. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point of the movie, and it's really obvious to people watching, but for kids, they don't really think that far. And even like later in the movie, when they're high schoolers, they're like, you know, they think about it, like they recognize that they were being selfish, but you can't blame them again in a way because they were just kids, so of course they're selfish. I don't know, it's a really complicated movie.
Well, I don't think there was like a turning point or anything for his bullying, because right at the introduction, the movie portrayed it as a video game he's playing, and when Shoka Shoko, sorry, when Shoko showed up, it's represented as an alien because that's how Shoya saw her. He saw her as an alien, and I believe like it's seen in the manga. He basically just compares her to like, oh, a slug. I see a slug. I pour salt on it. I see ants. I smush them. This is like what she's for. This is why I bully her.
Damn, I didn't even get that.
Yeah,
because I didn't I didn't understand
from the get-go, she was so different. It was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, from the get-go, he could view her as an alien, but it's like I said before, maybe, because like you said, he was kind of attempting to communicate with her and, like, help her out in his own way at first, but then he completely just starts fucking with her.
Yeah.
Instead of any kind of communication. And then when it comes to Shoko, like, misunderstanding the circumstances, I guess one of the easiest things you could point out is when he wrote on the chalkboard I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something
he wrote like, Miyoko volunteered to learn sign language when the whole class didn't. So she got bullied for it because she was the only one like hanging out with Shoko. Like Naoko called her like getting brownie points or something. So she transferred schools, and what they wrote on the board is like, "You made Miyoko leave. This is all your fault." Blah 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 blah. So when Shoko walks in the room, Shoya gets up and erases it. He's like, "Who could have wrote this?
Yeah,
what?"
But she only sees that he erased something mean. So she writes thank you, which to them seems like really annoying and like, you know, you're not even reacting to this, you're just acting like you're innocent, you know, but to her it's like a completely normal reaction to what she saw. I think there's a couple other scenes like that in the movie where there's another version of the movie I want to watch where it's like Shoko's point of view. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but there's a cut of the movie. Hold up, let me. Okay. So it's called.
You found it.
It's called the Inner Silence cut, and it's no dialogue or sound effects, but it's the visual of the movie with a different soundtrack.
Yeah, I've heard people saying they watched that and it really added to Shoko's character as someone who doesn't have any hearing disability. It's like it opens their eyes to like what it could be like to be someone like Shoko experiencing the events of the movie. And I think that's really interesting to show with a cut like that. I guess we could go through each main character and give our thoughts. Shoya is very interesting because basically his character arc happens like when we don't see, because we see him as a kid and he's really selfish and bratty and he kind of just does whatever he wants. He does whatever gets him to be popular or gets praise and attention or laughs. So that's why he bullies Shoko, and people kind of egg him on. Like the girls, Naoka and Miki, you know, when he does shitty stuff to Shoko, they're like, "Oh, stop, oh, you know," you know, like, "Don't do that, Shoya, it's so mean, oh my god." And then he's got his best friend, I forget his name, with like the dead eyes, kind of does the same thing, like when he writes all that stuff about Shoko on the board, he's like, "Isn't that going too far? Ha ha ha." Like, see, everyone,
up, dude.
Yeah, that's messed up, dude. Like, everyone kind of says that weightlessly. They don't really mean it. They kind of just say it as a formality when they really do find it amusing. But then when, you know, he kind of gets scapegoated when Shoko's mom calls the school and wants disciplinary action taken because of a bunch of Shoko's hearing aids getting ripped out and thrown out the window and gone missing and stuff. The teacher, Shoya's teacher, is like blames all of it on Shoya. Every single action, every single, act of bullying, everything is on Shoya. And because of that, all the people who were also guilty, like Shoya's friends and classmates, they kind of all avoid him because they don't want to be lumped in with him as a bully. And then Shoya's former best friend, continues this to protect himself, like telling everyone to stay away from Shoya. He's a bully. He made this deaf girl, transfer schools. He's such an asshole. And he does this in order to protect his own image as someone who used to be friends with Shoya. So because of that, Shoya ends up kind of like looking inward at himself and what he did, because he's kind of forced to, because he literally lost like all of his social relationships. So he kind of is able to realize, what a shitty person he was and then become a better person. And that's when we see him at the very, very beginning of the movie when he tries to kill himself. He's kind of like completely turned around, but he doesn't really, even though he's changed so much, he doesn't really want to live anymore. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Well, yeah, throughout that whole time, the time skip basically we see in the movie, he's completely alone. He just has the people in his household, so his mom, his sister, his niece, and his brother-in-law. That's it.
Pedro.
That's like really all the interactions he had. We see in the movie, he had this like issue with looking people in the eye, and there's like a blue X covering everyone's face to represent like his social anxiety basically, and his loneliness. So he had all this time to reflect on himself, and they were just like small things to better himself. Like it's just like casual, like, oh, I knew sign language because I took a class on it. So just when he going in high school or middle school, whenever this was, when he took the class, he's just thinking like, yeah, I couldn't understand her. I couldn't hear her voice. Maybe I should take these classes. I think that's something really interesting that the movie doesn't really touch on, is that he had just learned sign language without the intent to ever see Choco again, because he was gonna kill himself without seeing her ever again.
He did it as his own personal retribution.
And also, we probably won't like cover him in the lineup. I want to talk about the teacher really quick, because he's also horrible. He basically enabled all the bullying and just lets it happen.
Yeah.
And as you see in the manga, he kind of finds humor in it too. In the manga, they showed Shoya going to the teacher's office multiple times, having like a little talk, and like the last time he goes there, the teacher makes a comment, and Shoya's like, "See, you think she's a freak too. You think it's funny too." So yeah. And
yeah,
actually,
it's obvious that the teacher doesn't actually care at all about Shoko's well-being. He kind of just enforces, some sort of punishment or talking to, get away from, just to keep up appearances. He doesn't actually care about anything to do with Shoko.
And I'm actually gonna skip along characters here very quick. Alright. Further on in the manga, the teacher does show up again, and it's okay. So the manga had this whole plot line that's taken out where I forget his name, the best friend guy.
I don't know his name either.
With the green hair.
Yeah.
He's making a movie. He wants to make a movie. So throughout the story, the like quote friend group is like working together to make this movie, and they have the idea to, hey, let's use Shoko's old school as a set. So they get permission from their old teacher. And the guy with the orange hair, he's like completely shafted in the anime. You probably have nothing to say about him. But he had a character arc in the manga with referencing this, because he kind of had this whole thing of like, I hate bullies. I'm gonna beat up bullies. Shoko, tell me who bullied you and I'll beat them up. So the teacher makes like a comment that really pisses him off, where he just like takes a glass of water and like throws it in his face so they don't end up filming at the school because they didn't get permission because he got mad at the teacher. But I'm sorry I don't know his name, but the dude with the orange hair. This all boiled down to when he finds out, he specifically says like, I want to punch Shoko's bullies in the face. So when he finds out that Shoya is one of Shoko's bullies, on the bridge scene where everything falls apart, I believe in the movie he just says like, you're an outsider, what do you know? But in the manga he's like, you wanted to punch Shoko's bully, right? Go ahead and punch me. And he decks the shit out of him. There's like this like
I wish that was it. I wish that was in the movie. That's
it's
so
like
based.
maybe like it might have been like a 2-page spread. Like
Damn.
he knocks his he punches him, and he later regrets it. But like he has like a cool little arc that I'm not doing justice explaining.
Well, I just wonder, like, why does he care about Shoko? Is it just he befriends her in her high school, or?
Yeah, he is an outsider to the original situation. He only knows her in high school.
Okay.
So that's why the movie kind of just that, like, he's the character we can, like, not really focus on. Because it's more so, with the limited runtime. I can't blame them, but I do recommend reading the manga because you get more insight into him, all the characters. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about Shoya. He has his character arc off screen, and then the rest of the movie is him being just a really great guy, and trying to befriend Shoko not out of just like obligation, but because he actually like wants to get to know her, and like wants to spend time with her as a person, which again Naoka doesn't understand and is jealous of. But I guess we could talk about Shoko really quick. Not really quick, but, you know, we're talking about her the entire time, pretty much. Shoko, again, like, a lot of her development and characterization is from the point of view of other characters, so, like, the way she interacts with Shoya is after she finds out that he's changed and he's learned sign language and he's, like, a really nice guy now, she basically immediately like really likes him. And then when we find out about her little sister, who's also a big part of the movie, the way that she interacts with her little sister kind of gives us insight too, because the little sister and Shoko get in a fight like right at the start of the movie when we meet her, and we find out that it's because Shoko kind of wants her little sister, what's her name?
Yuzuru.
Oh yeah, Yuzuru, to leave her alone. Like, she feels like Yuzuru is really overbearing.
Well, actually, are you talking about the fight where Yuzuru leaves home?
Yeah.
That's because, she was the one who posted the picture of Shoya jumping off the bridge to get him suspended.
Yeah, but that's also part of, like, stop meddling.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Like, stop trying to help me by doing these things. Like, I don't need your help anymore. I don't need you to do all this shit for my sake when I'm like the older sister, basically. Is what I imagine she was feeling, you know?
Yeah. 'Cause
I'm sure that Shoko kind of gets babied a lot because of her disability, and it probably is upsetting. And you can see that with her mom too, because her mom seems to be this really like hard ass, like kind of controlling, overprotective parent.
Yeah, about her mom really quick. Her mom, again, the manga expands on it, read the manga, but it's weird. I don't want to say she's a bad mom, but she is like a real hard ass. There's a scene, I don't know if it's in the anime, where she said like, "Oh, don't sign at the table," and then she said,
I don't think that was in the movie.
No, and then you see in the beginning of the anime, Shoko's in the hair salon, with like her hair all matched up with leaves in it. With you find out why that happens in the manga. But her mom is like, make her hair like this. I want her hair like this, like a boy's haircut. So, cause she's strong. She doesn't need to be. It's this very weird shit.
Yeah, her mom seems to be very controlling of her and her life and who she hangs out with, what she should do, you know, all that. And Shoko kind of just wants to, like, do her own thing. And then that extends to her little sister, too, to where her little sister wants to protect her from everyone so badly that she ends up kind of controlling, as we see in the beginning of the movie when she wouldn't let Shoya into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I don't know if this is true, but the movie kind of implies that she leaves school in order to be with Shoko all the time. Like, following her to class and stuff.
Yeah, because she's in middle school.
Yeah, and she's
even
not
said,
in
like,
school for most of the movie.
She hasn't been going to classes.
She just goes with Shoko to her school to, like, watch her. Which sucks, because, like, that's not really treating Shoko with any respect as, like, an individual. I mean, the mom and the sister obviously want to protect her and help her, especially after, like, the trauma she had to deal with when she was a kid, but that's not really letting Shoko grow.
And then there is a part of it where that stems from them knowing her character flawed. She is very forgiving. As we see, she's immediately forgiving of Shoya, and it's just she had a very low self-worth. And
yeah,
again, everything in the movie she boiled down to, this is me, it's all my fault, I hate myself.
Yeah, she doesn't want to make anyone have to like deal with her in a way. She sees herself and her disability as just something annoying that everyone else has to deal with, and it's really sad.
I really the one part of the movie that breaks my heart every time is after the bridge scene where it's just Shoya and Shoko hanging out a lot.
I like when you say the bridge scene, it just reminds me of the fucking PewDiePie clip.
But she signed to Shoya, like, and we don't know what she's saying when she signed unless you know Japanese sign language, which is different than American sign language, so
yeah, it's different.
You only know what she's saying when the movie tells you. So, like, we watch a scene and Shoya's like, "What? No, that's not true. Don't say that." And then next scene he's like, "She told me I will always be miserable when I'm around her."
Yeah, it's on the first viewing of the movie, especially if you're not fully understanding like what she can hear and what she can't hear, it does seem like she kind of a character that just doesn't understand what's going on and just like is nice constantly and doesn't have much depth beyond that. But if you think about it for even a minute, you realize why she like hates herself, and the reason she's so nice and forgiving to people that don't deserve it is because she like thinks that she's always the problem in any conflict.
I think
she needs to be the one to change.
I think you obviously liked it on the first watch, but correct me if I'm wrong, you probably like Shoko more on a rewatch because you can understand her character a lot more in knowing like the context of the story.
Yeah. On the first watch, I was kind of just absorbing like the story. It's hard to really understand each character motivation and like why they act the way they do on a first watch through. At least I think that goes for most movies.
Yeah.
Especially when it's not spelled out to you, like in a silent voice where everything is pretty subtle. But on a second watch through, and I'm sure on a third, you really understand Shoko more and more, like why she says the things she says, why she does the things she does. One thing I want to touch on really quick before we move on from Shoko is the part where her grandma dies, because that just seemed like it came out of nowhere and was just like cruel for no reason. Because the grandma shows up for like one scene in the movie to talk with Yuzuru, and then like the next scene she's dead, and then Shoko's just like, okay, well my grandma's dead now.
She's in the manga a little bit more, and I think they might hint that like her time's coming. Something else about the funeral in the manga, if I remember right when this happened, it might be a different part of the story, but there's more insight to Shoko's mom, because I'm pretty sure Shoya goes into the funeral with Yuzuru, and their mom sees him and says something to him like, "Thank you for being friends with Yuzuru."
Yeah. Well, the way... Well, okay, there's a couple things I want to say about the grandma. She doesn't really get that much development in the movie, so her death isn't really that sad to the viewer, in my opinion.
You more so feel bad for Yuzuru in the moment. Can you see her crying?
Yeah, because it seems like the grandma was probably the only one who paid that much attention to Yuzuru. It seems like the mom kind of spends most of her time fretting over Shoko, I think. But then we see the grandma, like, represented by this, like, white butterfly. At least that's what I think that's supposed to be. That kind of, like, flies around Yuzuru and Shoko. And then the mom. And it's kind of a nice scene. But also, I kind of think the grandma dying is, like, a representation of how little, how like rare it is for someone to learn sign to communicate with Shoko, because we only see a few characters do it in the movie, and those characters are characters who really care about Shoko. Like, we see the grandma do it, we see Yuzuru, we see Shoya, and we see Miyoko? Is that her name?
Miyoko, yes.
Miyoko isn't fluent in sign, but she's, like, you know, trying. And she knows some sign.
Shoko.
Yeah, she's able to talk. So when the grandma dies, that's one less person who can, like, effectively communicate with Shoko in, like, a face-to-face conversation, which is really important. And that's why it's kind of fucked up. Not only to lose, you know, her grandma, but also, like, one less person who can communicate with her face to face. Do you have anything to add about the grandma?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, we talked about Nauka a lot already. Yeah. I did at the beginning.
We can skip Nauka. I just want to, real quick on Shoko, I think people's problem with the movie, like, it not focusing on Shoko, it was never meant to, like, Shoko isn't the main character. And I think that's, maybe people expected that. If you want to anime or manga that has, like, a deaf main character and, like, focuses on that aspect of it, A Sign of Affection is airing right now, and it does that really well. The main character is deaf, and the story has a lot of focus on that.
Crunchyroll should sponsor us for that free fucking shill right there.
Yeah, they should sponsor us. But yeah, I again, it's probably the last we'll mention it. I really like Shoko. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. Pretty much because of how much I could relate to her. Until I watched this movie, there was nothing I could really look up to in someone similar to me other than my own mom. So that's why the movie and Shoko's character is pretty special to me. And it's not just her disability, but also just everything about her. Just for example, her over apologizing, that hit pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think not only the hard of hearing aspect, but Shoko's self-worth is something a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
The way she thinks she's less than as a person, not only because she's hard of hearing, obviously, but also just in general. Like, she thinks she's weak. She thinks she can't, make friends because she's not interesting. Or
any of the viewers can really see themselves in Shoko when you think about it like that. The way she blames herself when she shouldn't, and her low self-confidence when she really shouldn't blame herself for any of this. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of that kind of trauma not only is from, the beginning of the movie where she's a kid, but also, like we were talking about, her mom kind of put that on her. Like, if you have mommy issues, and your mom is a very critical person, like a hard ass, or always like correcting you, you kind of start internalizing that, and you start criticizing everything you do as well, which I think is interesting. Yeah. It's like she's not just like wanting Shoko's entire arc and character to revolve around her disability is kind of a disservice, because there's many other factors that go into how she acts and what she does.
And I do apologize to anyone listening if I have any of my manga facts wrong. It had been a while since I read it. But I'm just trying to, like, piece together. I do want to read the manga again. Maybe when Sophie reads it, we can talk about it again.
Yeah, I'm reading Dungeon Meshi right now. I don't think we're gonna talk about that for a while, because you got like a billion other manga you have to read first.
We could maybe watch the anime.
That's true. We could watch the anime. I guess I don't have much to say about Naoko. We already talked about her. I don't like her. Even though I understand like why she does shit, I still don't think it's justified, and I think she's annoying, and I hate her.
Yeah, and we pretty much already talked about Miki too. Both characters I think are well written, but I don't like either of them.
Well, the thing that I wanted to mention about Miki is, like, whenever she always jumps the gun. She always, like, has to bring up the bullying. Like, she does it so often. She basically, this is the pattern with Miki. She sees Shoya. Someone starts talking to Shoya. She's like, Shoya was a fucking bully in childhood, and I was scared of him. And then Shoya says, "Wait, you bullied her too?" And she goes,
takes
she
off
starts
the glasses,
crying.
and
then and then everyone is like, "Oh, she couldn't have done that." It's like, huh? Why is it that, okay, like, why is it that whenever she starts crying, everyone's immediately like, "Oh, Shoya, that's low. How could you, like, why is her word way more important than Shoya's when he points out the same thing that she pointed out?" It's funny. White woman tears. White woman tears are fucked up.
Who else is that?
That's all I have to say about Miki. She isn't really, I don't know if she gets more development in the manga, but we don't know anything about her in the anime other than she's a little bitch.
Who's left? We just have, we already talked about,
the best friend.
Yeah, best friend and Miyoko.
Well, I need to find out his name. Shoya's
You think
friend.
I would know this? I mean, I looked at the subtitle whenever they said his name in the movie. It's like a
Nagatsuka.
Yeah. It's a long name, so I always like mess it up.
Nagatsuka. Nagatsuka's the fucking goat.
That's why he's the goat.
He is the greatest.
The goat.
He is the fucking greatest thing. He is the reason. He's basically the reason that Shoya doesn't kill himself. Kind of. I mean, he kind of, well, there's multiple reasons he doesn't end up killing himself. One is he meets Shoko and wants to see her again. And two, his mom burns all of the money that he made to give to his mom. And 3, he makes his bestie for life with Nagatsuka. And Nagatsuka's so funny because he basically, Shoya does one nice thing for him, which is letting some guy steal his bike instead of Nagatsuka's bike. And then Nagatsuka goes and finds Shoya's bike and brings it to him.
Literally, like,
and
after...
From that point on, he loves Shoya. Like, loves
literally,
him.
like, a day after knowing him, he's like, I would die for you.
He does this fucking, like, Godfather impression. In the cafeteria, like, hey, we're best friends. He uses the French fry as, like, a cigarette. He's so silly. Because all of the characters in this movie are very, very serious. There's very little levity. The only 2 characters that give any levity are Nagatsuka and Yuzuru. Yuzuru's kind of silly, like, half the time, but she's also serious. When
Maria's on screen.
Yeah, Maria's... yeah, she's funny, but... No, Nagatsuka's awesome. My favorite scene with him is when he's on the bridge scene.
The bridge!
The bridge! And, everyone is just fucked up. Like, everyone is completely,
real quick,
like,
I don't think we've explained the bridge scene, because we've just kind of assumed you're listening and you've seen the series, but if you haven't...
Well, we already told you to watch it.
Yeah, if you haven't, it's basically... Everyone is on the bridge, and the main character, Shoya, had just, like, breakdown, where he basically just tells every character off individually. He, like, said, like, some mean shit about them, and then they leave the bridge. So, you can go ahead and go on. You're gonna say what he said?
Well, the reason he does that is because, Naoka, after just berating Shoko in the Ferris wheel, she has the nerve to come to, like, the group meeting or whatever, and then they all start, like, yapping at each other about the shit that happened when they were kids. But yeah, Nagatsuka, after getting told off by by Shoya, is like, I know you don't mean it, buddy. I know you're going through a hard time right now. I'll leave you alone. It's so awesome. Even after, like getting roped into all of this drama between Shoya and his old friends, he's still a bestie for life.
I really like the scene when they're at the theme park, and I'm gonna look up his name. I feel so bad, the red hair guy. I'm pretty sure it starts with, like, an S. Okay, yeah, Satoshi. He comes up to, like, Shoya. He had, like, he puts his hand on his shoulder or something, and the guy says, like, hey, get your hand off him. He's my best friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's, like, there's, like, a gay rivalry that starts happening all of a sudden. Yeah, he's a really funny character. I think, again, he has more of a big role in the manga with, like, the movie subplot that's removed. But I think in the movie, he's still an important character just for bringing levity and giving Shoya another friend to have.
It's the first person we see in the movie to lose the blue X.
Yeah. The X's, I think, are... It's almost like Shoya doesn't see the people with the X's as, like, real people.
He shut out the entire world, and, like, the only people he sees is his family. Which, actually, interesting enough, that's why I watched the movie. I saw a clip of, like, the famous clip of the beginning of the movie where he, like, covers his ears and all the X's. I had no idea about Shoko or any of that, so I didn't go in knowing anything about that.
It's a really cool visualization of, how someone with like depression or anxiety views the world. They don't really view people as opportunities to like make relationships. They see people as opportunities for them to get hurt or for them to fuck up someone else's life, or they kind of just see it as like danger. Like everyone's dangerous except for like one or two people. And it's really nice at the end of the movie when all the face coverings fall off, because he's kind of stopped being afraid of everyone in the world. It's like, I mean, obviously his depression isn't cured, but it's definitely a lot better than the beginning of the movie. He's seeing like life for what it is instead of, cowering. Which, again, that's what the movie's about. The movie's about him and Shoko, like, finding a reason to live.
Yeah, and I also think, did Kono Katachi, did that translate to the shape of voice?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's
Koei is voice and Katachi is shape.
Okay, yeah, because also just the other point of the movie is the importance of a voice.
Communication, yeah. Yeah, the importance of communication in all sorts of ways. I mean, they communicate with sign, they communicate through texting, they communicate through the notebook. There's so many ways to communicate with Shoko, but when they were kids, they didn't like doing that. They didn't want to learn sign. They didn't want to write in her notebook. They didn't try to communicate with her, and that's why it caused so many issues.
Something I noticed in this walkthrough, this exact dialogue, is when the teacher for sign language comes in, she's like, at the beginning of every day, we'll do 3 minutes of learning sign language so we can help Shoko. And now could well, why? Oh, well, because it'll be easier for Shoko. Okay, it's easier for me to write in the notebook. But 3 minutes a day.
Yeah, even for a kid, that's pretty selfish. Like, at that point, you should have enough empathy.
Like, it's not
to realize.
I could kind of get it if they were like, we're gonna take a whole class and it's like a whole time out of the day.
Yeah.
Like, for this kid I don't know, whatever. But 3 minutes?
Well, I remember at my elementary school, we had a similar thing. I think we had a couple classes where we would learn like little signs and little like songs in sign language. I don't remember any of it. The only one I remember is like toilet, like raise your hand and then put your like thumb in between your fingers, and that means like I have to go to the bathroom in ASL. But we had a few hard of hearing kids at my elementary school, and we did like these little classes. So And I think all of the kids like loved it. It's fun to learn, different ways of communicating.
Also, yeah,
even if
teachers can make learning fun, and I wish it was more normalized to at least learn like some pretty basic phrases in sign language. Because if you hear anyone who, like, you'll see people who are of hearing learn sign language, and they'll like say like, it was like so surreal that I learned this, and then like I would work in a fast food job or something, and I was able to communicate with someone, even if it was like basic phrases or whatever. I wish it was kind of more normalized, because I don't know any sign language, and I really want to. I just know like some of the alphabet. I taught myself the alphabet.
If you think of it less like a chore, I have to learn sign language to talk to these fucking deaf kids, and more like, cool, I get to learn a new way of communication, not like, it's homework. I don't know. I guess that could be for any language, but the point is, I feel like even for a kid, it's pretty cynical for Naoka to say that. She at that point she really didn't like Shoko, like vitriolic hatred.
It's really sucks that sign language isn't universal, because if there was just one universal sign language, I guess I'm making a point for like spoken languages too. If there was one universal language, but
English is the closest.
I feel like sign language is very unique in the aspect of even knowing like basic phrases can help a lot. Could like
the way sign language is structured, as far as I know, is less about grammar and more about like the main point of the sentence, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but...
Well, yeah, we both don't know what we're talking about, but that's what I think.
And on the topic of sign language, with the whole Twitter controversy, quote, controversy is one tweet, about this movie recently, I think someone said, like, oh, the author's mother was deaf. I don't think that's true, and I believe, I might be wrong, I didn't fact check it, but I'm pretty sure her mom was an interpreter, a sign language interpreter. Okay. And she helped her with the manga.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, I don't think anyone's listening to this podcast expecting, like, facts. Like, if we made...
Yeah, if you're listening to Magical Girl Rehab for, like, a fucking game theory level research into the topics we talk about, just stop. Just stop.
'Cause I think I said earlier, like, you know, I'm sorry, like, I might be getting my manga facts wrong. It's been a couple years. We're just talking. If we wanted to go in depth with this, I'd make a video. Yeah, this is just kind of like silly rambling.
Again, when it comes to the shit that happened when they were in elementary school with the, you know, we could take 3 minutes to learn sign language. We could take a couple minutes to try to help out these people, or not these people, but Shoko, you know, interact with us. It's just a really nice gesture, and again, it's something that can be a fun activity for kids. And again, my elementary school, I don't know if my elementary school was an outlier. I went to elementary school in Alaska, of all places, but we also had a big population of Russian kids. So I remember we would learn some words in Russian every once in a while to try to communicate with them, because their first language was Russian, and they were going to school in the US, and yes, they knew English, but it wasn't perfect. And they ended up kind of just congregating together and talking to each other most of the time. And I'm sure that was pretty isolating. They felt like they were outsiders in their own school, which is sad. But I don't remember ever, like, I don't remember them getting bullied, but I could have just not been in that. I don't know, it's just like kids are really malleable, and when you introduce new things and new languages to them, I think they tend to pick it up and, like, enjoy it.
That's the time to teach them when they're a kid.
Yeah.
Because it's much harder for me right now to say, I want to learn a language.
Yeah. And that's why I think Nauka being so bitchy, even as, like, a 5th grader, is hilarious. Because she's on some next level hating shit to be, like, 10 years old and be like, why do we have to learn sign language? I'll just write in her notebook. And she continues to not write in her notebook. Which clearly wasn't easier for her, because she was complaining about using the notebook. I guess learning sign language would be a bother. Well, she just hated Shoko at that point. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. And again, I like how they and you can speak on this, but they talk about how expensive hearing aids are.
Oh yeah.
And how easily Shoya just rips them out and throws them out the window like a bunch.
My most recent pair was like $2,500, and I got a good discount because my parents know my audiologist, and they want you to upgrade often. Like, my audiologist is like, yeah, so you should probably upgrade soon. I don't have the money.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. I feel like most people who watch the movie, including me, like the first time, you know, they hear about, oh, Shoya ripped out her hearing aids and threw them out the window like 5 or 6 times, and it's like, oh, that sucks. I'm sure they were like a couple $100. No, they're not a couple $100. They're a couple thousand.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to like understand that with the amount of money Shoya had to pay his mom. I don't know how much it was, and I don't know the year it takes place, so I don't know if the pricing and also Japan's hearing aid different from the US or whatever, but it's a lot of money either way. It's still a lot of money.
I didn't understand that he was paying back for the hearing aids, actually. I just realized that now when you said that. I thought he was just paying her money because they're like a low-income household.
No.
And he wanted her to have money for when he was gone.
When their moms met up, she took out money to pay for all that, the lots.
Wow.
And Shoya was trying to repay her.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
So he made sure he paid that off by like selling everything and working really hard, and then he was gonna kill himself.
Mm-hmm. Pretty
But
fucked
that
up.
also kind of shows a little development in his character.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't realize that the money he saved up was for the loss of the hearing aids. So that's interesting. Is there any other main characters? I guess maybe Shoya's mom, speaking of her. I don't really know. I mean, she's just really nice. She's like a really good mom. That's the only thing I could gather.
There's a cute... It might be an extra chapter, but remember at the beginning of the movie, I pointed out that when all the kids are running into the salon, you can see Shoko in the back.
Yeah.
And I also mentioned earlier in this episode that the mom was trying to force Shoko to get like a short haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Shoko didn't want that.
Yeah.
She had the magazine open and she's like pointing at the hair she wants. And even though Shoko's mom is like, give her like this short boy haircut. Shoya's mom listens to Shoko and gives her the hair you see when she's in elementary school.
Yeah. That's really
that's
nice.
a cute little detail. She goes with what the kid said because that's what she wanted. Did we really talk about Miyoko? We kind of did.
No, we didn't talk about her that much. I like Miyoko. I don't really think she did very much wrong. I mean, I guess she could have, stuck by Shoko even though she was getting bullied, but I don't really blame her for not doing that, especially because she had to transfer schools as well.
I want to mention with Miyoko, it's more apparent in the manga because it's more explicit and they actually show it more. But you might notice at the end of the movie, how they say like Naoko and Miyoko are like friends. In the manga, they end up going, huh?
You mean Naoka?
Naoka, yeah. I don't know what I said. In the manga, they end up going to like the same fashion school or whatever, and they make clothes together.
Huh.
Yeah, it's...
Oh yeah, they do mention in the anime that they go to the same school.
Yeah, they're actually like friends. It's just more insight into Naoka's character.
Yeah, it is insight into Naoka's character because Miyoko and Shoko are very similar. Like the way that that's why they were friends. They're very like they're seemingly very similar people. So it kind of shows that Naoka doesn't hate Shoko for like who she is, but more so that she's just like in the way of her and Shoya's relationship more so.
And it does seem like in the end of the manga she's like fine with Shoko. She probably still has that inner hatred, but I don't know.
Yeah, she still has a crush on Shoya, I think, and she says that she just can't like Shoko. And I think that's due to her just seeing her as like a rival with Shoya. I can't fathom any other reason. And I think at the end of the movie, a good scene to show like Shoko and Naoka's relationship is obviously like the moron scene. Because it kind of shows that Shoko isn't scared of her anymore. Like, she doesn't see her as, like, this scary person who can, like, bully her anymore.
And also that she does the sign language for stupid.
Yeah, she learned how to say stupid in sign language just so she could say it to Shoko.
There's this funny scene where, like, she does it. It's like... I can put it on screen if you're watching on YouTube. It's like two fingers together.
Yeah,
and it goes like baka, and Shoko's like really surprised by it. She grabs her finger and she's like baka.
Yeah, Miyoko's cool. I really like the scene in the anime where they show the video of them doing karaoke. That was really cute. And yeah, it seems like Miyoko just likes Shoko because they're similar. They're like quiet, you know, nice girls. Maybe they have like similar hang-ups and they like cute things or whatever. I don't know. They're just good. They seem like they have a good chemistry with each other. And it's cute. That's pretty much all I have to say. Like, I don't really blame Miyoko for kind of bailing when she was getting fucking bullied and ostracized as well.
I mean, she was a kid.
They were just kids.
Again, a lot of it boiled down to, like, everyone was a kid. Obviously, the bullying's still bad, but Miyoko really, she caught, like, a stray, and...
Yeah, she did! She caught a fucking stray. What did he say? Like, you just run away from everything or whatever?
Yeah, they try to paint it as, like, her character flaw, and she's a coward, and she runs away. It's like, she ran away when she was a kid to a different school. But I don't really remember her running away in the town skip in the future. There's even that scene on the roller coaster, which is like, you know, I used to be a coward, but I used to be scared of this roller coaster, but now I've changed.
I don't know. I feel like Miyoko could have done with a bit more development in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's different in the manga, but I mean, she's cool. I like her.
Yeah, I would like for a future episode to talk about the manga, because there's just so much. I think the movie is really good for...
It's a great movie.
What I was able to accomplish, right? Like, if you don't know the manga, it's still a great movie. I do think the manga is better, but I watched the movie first. It had a special place in my heart. The music in the movie is just so good.
Yeah, the music is
like,
great.
That ending scene is, like, infinitely better in the movie because of, like, the music.
Yeah, the music is really good. I mean, it's funny when you say that because, well, not about the music, but about the manga being better, because when we were trying to find the what is it called? The version of the movie.
The Inner Silence cut.
The Inner Silence cut. I looked up, like, a silent voice cut or whatever on Google, and, like, the top results were why the manga is better than the movie, and what the movie cut from the manga, and why the manga is a masterpiece and the movie doesn't adapt it how it should have, and blah blah blah. It's like, bro, it's a movie. Like, you can't expect a movie to add every single thing that happens in a, like, multiple volume manga series.
It's a 7-volume manga.
Crazy.
It's pretty impressive how they made it into a 2-hour movie. This most recent time I was watching it, I like was able to take note of, like, how fast the pacing is because of, like, knowing the manga and all that. But
it doesn't feel fast though.
Yeah, there's no fault. I really can't think of, like, actual flaws in the movie. With how it's done. Like, you can wish there was more character, but everything is still at least
you could wish that it was an anime instead that adapted everything.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have the same quality as a movie.
I like how it turned out for the series. I like that we got this beautiful movie.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a 10 out of 10. It's so funny too, because my first viewing, like I said, I liked it, but it was like a 7.5 or 8 out of 10. But on a second watch, it's literally, like, perfect. I think it just comes down to the things that you notice and the things that you're able to pick up on a second watch that you just can't on the first, because you're just absorbing the story as it's presented.
I would also point out something, because I've seen the movie so many times.
Yeah.
Like, there's a point early in the anime, when the two moms meet up, and when Shoyum's mom comes back, you see she has, like, blood dripping down her shirt and her ear, and it's implied that Shoko's mom ripped out the earring of Shoya's mom.
Yeah, that's something that if I, like, paused it and looked at, I could figure out. But when the movie's playing and the scenes are going by, it's, like, hard to process that. So I was like, Dylan, what happened? Oh, that's what happened. Okay. Which I think I think it's a great way to present that information, because even if like you don't notice that, you still get the gist.
Yeah.
Of the scene.
And like the manga doesn't outright say like this scene we're talking about. It doesn't outright say this, but you're able to like render on it because it showed you.
Like imagine how much worse it would be if the mom comes back from talking to Shoko's mom and Shoya's like, "Mom, oh my god, did she rip out your earring? Now your ear's bleeding."
Yeah, I love this scene. She comes back, she's like, "Let's go home," and that's it. That's the scene.
And she's almost happy to have been like assaulted because she feels a fraction of the pain that Shoko felt, and she's like kind of grateful for it. It seems like I in a way get to experience this pain that this little child was put through because of my kid.
The pain she felt is only a fraction of what her kid caused someone else.
Yeah. Which is good characterization for Shoya's mom, because she's so nice. Like, she has a heart of gold. And I think, like, one thing before... I know this is a long one, guys. But one thing I noticed, too, after watching the movie is there's no dads. There's no dads. Shoko doesn't have a dad. Shoya doesn't have a dad. I don't know if that's intentional or if the writer, the creator of Koe no Katachi was just like, who needs dads in this story? It's not really important.
So I don't know if they ever cover Shoya's dad, but in the manga, Choko's dad is mentioned. He leaves because Choko's deaf.
God damn it. Fuck that shit. I knew you were gonna say that. That's stupid. That's stupid as fuck. But anyway, I mean, obviously that's horrible and evil. But I wonder if Shoya not having a dad, like, just another fatherless child, like, if that's the reason why he's so, like, such a bratty kid in a way. Like, only having one parent. Like, I mean, I was raised by a single mother, and I mean, I wasn't, like, a little bitch, but I can understand, like, a kid only having one parent and then kind of acting out because, and, like, wanting more attention in a way. Like, the way, I mean, I'm kind of hyper-analyzing Shoya, but it's just weird to me that he has such a good mom, and yet he acts so rude as a kid, you know?
I've never really thought about it, but it kind of seems like maybe his mom is, like, more... Forgive is not the right word, but she kind of lets him get away
maybe?
With his shit. Because he's, like, always jumping in the river all the time, and obviously it doesn't really seem like she approved of it, but it's like, that's Shoya.
And then also, speaking of Shoko's dad, if, you know, it's pretty likely that Shoko knows that's why she doesn't have a dad around, is because she's deaf. And that's just another fucking thing to pile on her self-hatred. It's my fault that I don't have a dad. It's my fault that I don't have, like, my family together. It's because of me. It's my fault my little sister doesn't have a dad or whatever. I don't know.
There's one dad in the movie. Not Maria's dad.
Pedro. He's awesome, dude. One of the greatest characters in the movie. He's got one line. One line.
No matter what, my son always bounces right back.
See you later, Mom. I'm heading out to pick up Maria now.
Okay.
Maria's so cute. Her voice in the dub is adorable, and I love her little crab hair. Yeah.
You died!
You died! Yeah, we watched the dub. I've never seen the sub. I'll probably watch the sub next when I rewatch it again. But the dub is really, really good.
Shoko's, a little cool note, Shoko's voice actor is deaf and English dub.
Yeah, Shoko's voice actor is deaf, and she just has, like, that speech impediment that goes through in the movie, and it's, like, just really accurate because it's a deaf person, you know? I don't know. It is cool that they did that. I have no idea how Shoko sounds in the Japanese version.
I watched this.
I don't know
I watched the sub the first time I watched it. I haven't watched it since, but I like the sub.
Okay.
I do like the voice though, like there's a line which is like, "Is my voice weird?" That like really hit me, cause I have like a weird speech impediment voice, which is better now, but it was a lot worse when I was younger. And a main point of my bullying, but we won't get into that. I already talked about like.
Yeah, we don't want to get too personal on this show. We're gonna start getting doxxed. People are gonna find out where we live.
We have to have rehab for being a magical girl, not being deaf. Okay.
No. I mean, do you have any other notes? I think we talked about like everything we could possibly talk about.
Yeah.
I know I did.
We've talked about a lot. I mean, I could probably go on and on if I mean, a sound voice is like the only thing I've ever considered making like a video essay on. The first time I watched it, I started writing a script.
Wow.
I never finished it though. But I brought the manga. I was gonna make a video.
I mean, obviously, we've been talking for an hour and a half, almost. So it's a very deep series. There's a lot to talk about with it. So I don't doubt that you had a lot to say. Especially when you didn't even know the premise of the movie before watching it. You're probably like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was cool.
When this comes out, I'll probably have released a video about Tangled. So, if you haven't watched that, if you got this far and you haven't watched that yet, you should watch that. Dylan just started editing it as we record this.
Oh, and make sure to subscribe to the Magical Girl Rehab YouTube channel after episode 3. Every episode is going to be hosted on there, not the Mimiori channel. We actually got banned. We got banned.
Yeah, we got banned. Do you think we're going to get banned every time we upload, like, the ones on Mimiori? And then
I don't know. So what happened is we uploaded the exact same video. Even, like, the ad at the end saying, go to the channel. So, like, a brand new channel uploaded a duplicate video, so they're like, we have to take this down. So the channel got banned for this. I sent in an appeal, and I was like, hey, I explained everything.
We own this channel.
Yeah, and within 7 minutes, they replied to me, and the channel was back, which was really surprising to me, because I was kind of expecting you to have to go on Twitter and be like, hey, you deleted my channel. I know I had like 20 subs, but I don't really want to make a new email and all this shit.
Yeah, I'm glad that it got reinstated. I wonder if it's gonna happen again for this episode and the next one that's gonna be posted on Mimiori. I hope not. I hope I get like whitelisted.
I don't know. Maybe on one of the uploads we can put like a 2-second clip at the end of one of them, so the video is different and it doesn't get automatically flagged.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode of Magical Girl Rehab. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.